Good afternoon, grade 12's colleagues across the province of the Free State. My name is Khadebe Zakaria Kakuchane from Tsusoleta High School in Bloemfontein. I'm your presenter today, going to take you through the geography examination tips for 2022. The structure for paper 1, geography 2022 final examination. We're having 3 questions. Question 1 is climate and weather, which is 60 marks. Question 2 is geomorphology, which is also 60 marks. And question 3, it's a geographical skills and techniques, which is basically map work, 30 marks. Now, most of the time in geography, the type of question that we are going to come across, especially when you start with your examination on the 15th of November 2022. Type of questions is the short objective questions, will be there, data response questions, paragraph questions, low order, middle order, and also high order questions. So in most of the time in geography, that's how we subdivide our question paper, so that it can be a fair paper for all the learners that are writing this final examination. Now, when you look on the next slide, then that is a breakdown of the question paper itself, the structure of the question paper itself. Question 1 is the climate and weather. We're having two short objective questions. It's most probably is 7 and 8, which is 15 marks. Now, let's remember, my learners, that those short objective questions are the concept in geography. In most of the time, if you don't understand concept in geography, you won't be able to understand any process that is followed by those concepts. So every time, make sure that you understand your concepts in climatology, and then also make sure that you understand your concept in geomorphology. That means geography without concept, you won't be able to explain anything. All of us must be able to understand and explain concepts. So that means in those short objective questions, they are based more on concepts. So you must know your concepts. So let's say, for example, if you look at 7, the first 7 might be multiple choice, whereby you choose the correct answer. And then for 8-mark question, maybe might be column A, column B, based on the concept that we're having in climate and weather, or in climatology, in short. And then the other questions, we're having also 3 long item questions. That means we're having 15-mark questions, 3 15-mark questions. Those are our long questions, basically. So learners also must be able to define different concepts there, must be able to explain, must be able to answer appropriately according to those questions. And then question 2, same structure but different topics. We're having geomorphology. It's also divided into 2 short objective questions, 7 plus 8, which is 15 marks. Also, in geomorphology, you must also understand concept. If you don't understand concept, then you won't be able to understand anything related to that geomorphology. And then also it's divided into 3 long item questions, 15-mark questions each. So also must be able to answer concepts also there, explanations, discussion, paragraph questions in that particular 15-mark. And then the last question is question 3, geographical skills and techniques. So learners, if you look at the division here thing, the first one is 10 marks. In that particular 10 marks, remember, it's our calculations. And every time you must be able to note a follow-up question on each and every calculation. For example, if you are talking about magnetic declination, the follow-up question might be, why must we update magnetic declination? Why must we calculate magnetic declination every year? So that means that is a follow-up question on that particular calculation. Or in gradient also, a question might be, is the answer that you got from that gradient steep or gentle? And then must be able to provide a reason why you say steep from inside the map, and then so that it become clear in terms of explanation. And then the other one is interpretation, which is 12 marks. Interpretation, remember here, if we are talking about paper 1, we'll only focus on climate and weather and geomorphology in terms of interpretation. We don't include anything from paper 2, but we'll be only focusing on climate and weather and geomorphology in terms of interpretation. And then the last sub-question there will be 8 marks, which is GIS. GIS must know all the concepts of GIS. Must be able to know the importance of each and every concept of GIS. And then next page, it's a structure of the paper itself. Now, in the structure of the paper itself, now it's giving us more clarity on which subtopics must one go and study for question 1, for question 2, and also for question 3. Let's look at the first question there, which is question 1. Question 1 is 60 marks. Remember, we said it's climate and weather. We're having mid-latitude cyclones. One must be able to understand tropical cyclones. One must also know subtropical anticyclones, very climate, and also urban climate. So those are the subtopics in climate and weather. And for question 2, geomorphology is also 60 marks. Drainage systems in South Africa, fluvial processes, catchment, and river management. So one must be able to understand all those subtopics before we write that examination on the 15th. Must be able to prepare yourself accordingly so that when they ask these questions, then must be able to answer correctly. And for question 3, like I said, it's a map work techniques, aerial photographs, an off-photo map, topographical map, everything is based on that. And also the last one, which it is a geographical information system, which is based on the concepts in geography or in GIS itself. And then next page, time management. How do you manage your time when you answer these questions? For question 1, for example, which is climatology, climate and weather, you can spend about 55 minutes so that at least you can cover everything in question 1. Remember, question 1 is out of 60. At least you must cover at least around 55 minutes. I'm not saying now you must stick to 55 minutes. You can make your choice. Maybe if then it's too easy, you can take 30 minutes, still fine. But we are saying at least a maximum of 55 minutes will make it for that particular question. For question 2, geomorphology, also 55 minutes, can take that also when you are approaching that question. And the last one, which is a map skills and techniques, can also take 55 minutes, if possible. Again. So that means, remember, our paper is 3 hours. It's written in the morning from 9 o'clock up until 12 o'clock. We're having a lot of time to complete this paper. Please don't rush when we are answering questions there. And then make sure that you answer correctly. Your numbering is correct in terms of the question paper itself. Don't rush. Remember, this is the last round of everything. Make sure that you stick to your time management. And then now, for paper 1, we're having paragraph writing, obviously. This is where we're having some problems in terms of paragraph writing, because majority of our learners are not writing, are not following the instructions of questions. Because the question says, if the question is being phrased, it's going to be in a paragraph of approximately 8 lines. So must be able to write a paragraph, not point form. Please, our learners, grade 12s, this is a final examination. Let's make sure that we write in paragraphs, not point form. Because majority of our learners are not following that instruction of saying, when we are saying write in a paragraph of approximately 8 lines. So we want a paragraph, not point form. And then the second one is instructional verbs. Remember, we're having different verbs here, action verbs. For example, if the question says discuss, must be able to discuss, not just mention facts. but must be able to qualify your statement. For example, if they say what are the impacts of tropical cyclone on the people around the area or around the coast, for example. So you can't just say floods will destroy infrastructure. So that's going to be wrong, because we have to support that statement, qualify it. Because now, first of all, must mention that where do we get those floods? From heavy rainfall. So that means when I say heavy rainfall causes floods, that might damage the infrastructure. See, if you look at my sentence, it's discussing there. So we must be able to discuss based on the action verbs. Explanation, explain, account, describe, define. Go and look at all those action verbs, and you'll be able to answer these questions correctly if only you understand those action verbs. Write in full sentences, like I said. If you are writing paragraph questions, please just write in full sentences every time. So if you write short, then you won't be able to get marks in terms of the mark allocation of that particular question paper. So make sure that you write in full sentences. Do not write in a point form, like I said. You don't have to write in a point form. And then the question is 8 marks, meaning 4 facts multiplied by 2. So that means we need only 4 facts there. And then we multiply that by 2, then it's going to be 8. So that means grade 12s, let's make sure that we look at mark allocation for each and every question, not only for this paragraph question, but also for the whole paper. If the question say mark allocation is 2 multiplied by 2, that means you must provide us with 2 facts. Each is 2 marks, so it's going to be 4. So if you say 1 multiplied by 2, we just need 1, and then it's going to be 2 marks. 1 multiplied by 1, we just need 1, and it's 1 mark. So if it's 3 multiplied by 2, that means we need 3 facts, and then each is what? It's 2 marks, and it's going to give you 6 marks. So it's very, very important, because we have seen in our trial examination, most of our learners are not following that mark allocation given in the question paper. So let's make sure that we follow up on that, so that we can at least cover everything in that regard. And then also the issue of time management is very important. The questions that must be able to remember, understand, and also apply your geographical skills when answering this question paper. So also examination practice sessions will be there. Examination guidelines should be your companion. So that means when you are preparing yourself for this final examination, just make sure that you are having your examination guideline with you, so that you can be able to cover everything. If you don't have that examination guideline, you won't be able to cover everything in paper 1. So let's make sure that you cover everything and then use your exam guideline. Practice makes perfect. Every time, grade 12, let's make sure that we study accordingly. Study accordingly, know your concepts, know how to practice how to write paragraphs, which is very important in geography. So that is the only way of making it to these 2 papers. But especially for paper 1, on the 15th, then you'll be able to make it if only you practice and do your work properly. And then now let's